we go. Welcome to the Macworld Podcast. I'm the ill-prepared host, Roman Loyola. Joining me across our great nation is on the East Coast. Joining us remotely is Mike Simon. Hi, Mike.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are.
Yes. In the studio, Mr. Leif Johnson.
Hi.
The man behind the board is Dan Masuoka.
Yep, I'm here.
I like to call him the most important man in the room.
Do you have a 4th of July hangover? Is that why you're ill prepared?
No, I think what it is this.
Too much barbecue.
I did have a lot of barbecue yesterday, but I tried to balance it off with a salad, but you know how that goes. That just never works. But I think what it is it's the 2-day, and then and for those of you not watching in the United States, yesterday was Independence Day in the U.S., so it's a holiday. It's a federal holiday, so nobody worked. So we worked for 2 days.
Well, some of us worked, Roman.
Some of us worked. I actually did some work.
I did not work.
Was always working.
Yeah, not
the
not
hardest
me.
man in the business. But so we had 2 days, and then a holiday, and now we have these next 2 days. So I think the reason why I feel unprepared is because I basically had to set up the website for yesterday and this morning, and so I was kind of ignoring the news a little bit. So my rhythm was thrown off. That's why I feel ill-prepared.
You're a rhythm guy.
I guess so. I never thought I was.
And I know the weekend's right around the corner, but at the same time, it kind of feels like a Monday today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a good kind of Thursday. You're right. It does feel like a Monday, but then tomorrow's Friday and everything's all dry.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm all. Right. So then I spend Friday usually preparing the site for the weekend, and Monday. So yeah, my rhythm's all thrown off.
Your work rhythm,
yes.
Not like you put your pants on the wrong
I put
leg.
my pants on backwards, and then looking like
and
crisscross.
and then it just started all over. Yeah.
That's an early '80s reference.
All right. All right.
So Dan, I always call him the most important man in the room because he is tracking our Twitter and YouTube feeds for your comments and questions. So folks out there watching us, got any comments, got any questions on anything, usually Apple related, but
Yeah, doesn't have to
if
be.
you have any thoughts on fireworks?
I love fireworks.
Yes.
But
Everyone loves. Who doesn't love fireworks?
People with pets.
People with pets.
I don't like fireworks.
You don't like fireworks?
I mean, I like pretty ones that are in the sky. I don't like the ones that explode outside of my
that just
out of
make
my
noise.
house.
Right.
Yeah.
What about sparklers?
Sparklers.
What about snakes?
Sparklers are all right.
What
I
about
had a couple.
sparklers and snakes?
We had some sparklers from my son. He was very happy.
Yeah.
They don't make noise.
So, but if you have any comments or questions about the topics that we're talking about today, or anything
Yeah.
tech, Apple related, or fireworks related,
Maybe smart fireworks. Yeah.
let us know. Virtual
Yeah,
fireworks.
Bluetooth controlled fireworks.
Yes.
That's fun.
Yeah, all those colors you got with fireworks.
Yes. You just held up your phone and had it flash.
Alexa, launch my Roman candle.
Yeah, let us know what you guys are thinking. Dan's monitoring, and he'll let us know. He'll chime in with your guys' thoughts and questions. We're talking about the OS betas that are out, our experiences with it. We're also talking about Apple Maps. There's some news about Apple Maps. But this morning,
Dun, dun, dun.
speaking of fireworks, I'm trying to make a transition here.
There we
I was
go.
trying to help you a minute ago.
There are some new possible colors coming for the iPhone. Some rumors that reported by Ming-Chi Kuo of, what is the institute he's from?
Oh, gosh,
Strategic-
curveball. I still want to say KGI Security.
Well, because he's leaving there, right?
It
We
was
hear ELS.
KGI, but he I think he left already. I'm not 100% sure where he went. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because they said that, he was going to, they said that he might stop doing Apple stuff altogether. But
Right.
apparently when you're really good at something, it's wise to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
So,
But he's reporting that there are going to be some new colors to the iPhone. Can you guys clarify? I read it, and of course, Now I can't because it's all a jumble in my head now.
The new colors will be
Yeah.
gray, white, blue, red, and orange.
Orange.
Yes. And so one of the things we were talking about in Slack today is because what does this sound like? It sounds kind of like the iPhone 5C, which
I see.
yes, may actually, could be the return of the plastic because these colors look like they're going to be on the lower end phones, the LCD ones, as opposed to the OLED higher ends. So
Just a quick, he's with TF Securities.
Ah, that's right.
That's his, which I need to go now add to the article and properly credit him.
Okay. Like a good journalist. So, yeah. So,
But yeah, that's what I thought of too when I saw that. I mean, who wouldn't? Either you think of the iMac or you think of the iPhone 5C because that's where Apple has had that kind of range of spectrum products.
you roboted for a second, but I think you're back now. Yes.
yeah.
So
So, blue, orange. I would like an orange iPhone.
Would you? Giants?
See, I'm an A's fan.
I got a blue one. I had a blue iPhone 5C, but I mainly got it because it was super cheap, and that was the color that they had. And I'll be honest with you, I just kept the thing in a case the whole time, so you never saw it. So it was.
remember they had those cases with the holes in them for
Yes.
the 5C. So you can. I wonder if
So
they
you
would do
can't see
something
it.
similar with this one.
Yeah.
So are these going to be glass backed?
There was no real.
That's the question.
That's the
The
question.
main question, if you will.
So if you have if they're
Yeah.
plastic, you can still do wireless charging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
no one really does for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a conductive thing where it's not as reliable. I don't really know. I don't know enough about it, but all of the wireless charging phones I've used from Samsung and LG and Huawei, they all have glass backs.
But don't you
Apple
think
as well?
Don't you think that's more of like it's a higher end feature?
I was
Possibly,
gonna say,
possibly.
Yes.
wireless charging is sometimes touted as a premium feature, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so
And as the bit for if it'll work, a lot of many
Yeah.
cases work with wireless charging.
Yeah,
so it's no problem.
nearly everyone, unless they're like super thick, like the OtterBox or something.
yeah.
They all transmit through the through the case to the pad.
So beyond just like they're having new colors, does that indicate anything else?
I think it's because the iPhone, they're not really reinventing the wheel with the design here. There's going to be some spec upgrades probably. We don't know where it's really waiting in iOS and stuff, but people always want to get that cool new iPhone. And I have to say, I saw a commenter, I believe it was on 9 to 5, say this, but I had the same idea. But basically, it was just like the 5 going from the 5S, the 5C. Here's a spec upgrade, but we're not totally changing it. So here's a cool way to make the iPhone look cool and different that wasn't in the previous model. Gives you another reason to upgrade. It's kind of like the iPhone, the red.
Right. Yes, because this year, I think as the pattern goes, is the tick. There's it's upgrade patterns are often referred to as tick-tock, whereas tick is the minor upgrade and talk is the major
Right.
upgrade. Is that correct? Do I have
I
that
mean
correct?
that's
what
that's
we're
correct word wise, but Apple's kind of thrown that all out the window.
Right.
They haven't had an S model since the 6S.
Yeah.
And the 10 and the 8, and now there's going to be a 6.5 inch. I mean, like, there's no real. It's just what if you want to buy it, if you don't wait.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not. We don't have those 2-year contracts anymore that we did. People
Right.
are buying them on installment plans. There's upgrade programs. There's all that stuff. So, and it's just not as cut and dried as it once was.
Yeah. It used to be major release,
Yeah.
then the S release, which was usually a processor upgrade or something, and then a major release.
Yeah.
But now, as Mike was saying, that's all kind of gone out the window.
And speaking of the processor, so do you think the iPhone, whatever it's called, 6.1 inch, will it have an 11? And the higher phones will have a 12 chip, the A11 and the A12. Will it have a single camera versus a dual camera? Probably. I mean, that Apple's been doing that for years. So I assume the iPhone 11 and then 11 Plus will have the dual camera, and the 6.1 will have a single camera. I mean, they're going to have to differentiate it somehow if it's $300 less.
Well, wasn't there a report, I want to say it was earlier this week, that some benchmarking sites saw numbers, reports of an A12 processor?
Yes. I totally
Yeah, I mean,
believe that.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I know. I'm sure there will be an A12. I don't know.
It's just a matter of which models
Yeah.
they're in.
Might factor into a iPad Pro refresh too, something like
Could,
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Could, yeah.
Right, and there was also another report of an iPad SKU, I think in a European, right.
Yeah, well, those are definitely coming, I
Right.
think, before the iPhone. Sometime over the summer, I think we'll see new iPad Pros. I don't think it's going to be anything major.
Right.
I think maybe the notch and all that stuff, whatever they do to it, might take another revision to get to, but we'll see.
So-
You know, the face ID and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So Talman on YouTube brings up this point. Do you think anyone is switching over from Android to iPhone because of the colors, or do you think anyone is upgrading because of the colors?
I could see people upgrading because of it.
Yeah.
I highly doubt people are going to switch operating systems just for the color.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
they
the
might
fence sitters.
have wanted to switch and then like, oh, it's orange. I'll do it now,
Right.
I guess. But I don't think anyone's saying, oh my God, I have to have an orange iPhone. I'm getting rid of my Galaxy phone.
If you had like a 7 or something and you didn't like the colors of that and you're like, ooh, I can get a notched phone in an orange color, they might hop
Yeah.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the colors could definitely pick, iPhone 7, iPhone 6S people who are kind of holding out. I think it could definitely push them over the fence, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because so many people now hold on to their phones longer than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of people who sit on the fence and go, well, all right.
But those people who really care about colors, I would think, would have just gotten like a case that has that
Yeah.
color.
Sure, it's not the same though when you take it
Yeah.
out of the box and it's the color you want. It's just a different
Yeah.
feel. It's
So you know what's inside.
And the more I look around me,
I don't use cases, so I
See?
like,
Yeah, I don't use cases either.
the more I look around me, there are a lot of people. I'm a case guy, but there are a lot of people who don't use cases. So no, I could see some people. I get this orange, I get this blue.
Totally. No, I think
Yeah.
it'll definitely matter for sales. I mean, people always say that the 5C was a failure. I don't agree with that.
I saw a lot of those things. Yeah.
I saw a ton of them too, and I think it's sold to people who wouldn't necessarily upgrade it, who had iPhone 3Ss or 3GS at the time. I think that I think they sold plenty of those phones. We just people just it didn't have these like enormous numbers that people expected, but I think they sold a lot of them.
And you're talking about seeing them, and that was the other thing. Those cool colors, you really did see
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
Whereas other phones just kind of disappear and stuff because they're so sleek and kind of conservative. Yeah, you saw that blue. You saw, so that was pretty amazing.
I don't know. I don't think I feel like I saw that many. And if they were that successful, why haven't they been consistently around? Like
Maybe in
that
San
option?
Francisco, but in middle America, trust me, I saw those 5Cs everywhere.
We had 2 5Cs in my
Yeah,
house.
that's a good question, Dan. I don't know why it was a one-off experiment and they didn't. They just said, "Nah, we're just going to sell the old phone again." That I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe they spaced those really low price ones. I mean, the color is what we're talking about, but they spread them so far apart, because it's like the people that are going to buy that are probably going to hold on to their phones anyway. And so they're like, oh, now we've gone far enough for another cycle. So that's another way to look at it. Because I know everybody that got a 5C, me included, were going really for that low price option. And, and the plastic felt like you were being good with your money and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
it was at the time. It was, I think, was it 550,
Yeah, something
450
like that.
for the entry level? They were inexpensive.
So that's like what, 5 years ago? 6 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years. Yep.
2013, I think.
The 5S, so 6S, 7, 8. Yep, 5 years will be this will be the 5th year coming up.
And Talman says, I love the 5C looks, but never had one because of plasticky feel.
That's why I put a case on it.
So
Unapologetically plastic, if you remember that
Yep.
commercial.
So we had
Johnny-
2 in,
Johnny, yeah.
as I mentioned, we had 2 in my household. The
Yeah.
reason why is,
kids.
well, my wife actually had one.
Oh.
And then we handed it down to my kid, and he lost it. So we bought another one. But coincidentally, or
And then you
maybe
found
not
it.
coincidentally, last week my wife took my car to have it detailed.
And then you
'cause-
found it.
And it was in my car. And been in my car for like over a year, I guess.
How messy is that car?
If it just falls into the
It
right
got pretty
spot, I
bad.
could see.
Okay.
So it wasn't that I had stuff all over
Yeah.
the place, but there was like a lot of tracking in dirt and just things like that.
Most tracked in dirt is not capable of hiding a phone, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I don't know because I had looked under at least my car seat for stuff, so I don't know where they found it. But so now we have again 2 more.
I'm only imagining it
5C.
because I grew up with a dad whose car was so messy that we couldn't find the seatbelts, and we would like sit on boxes, essentially in the back seat.
So
So I can imagine
yeah.
a scenario like that.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
see-
my car doesn't have a lot of stuff in it. It's just, kids who play soccer
Yeah.
and then they come in and then, it's just stuff like that.
Well,
So,
the reason I leapt to the rescue is because I lost a CD in my Mustang once, and it was disappeared for 2 years, and I got that thing pretty clean. But I did actually find it when I was doing like a hardcore, clean of it, and there was not that much in that car, but it just fell in like the right spot. Yeah.
yeah.
Here's a question: will Apple call it blueberry and tangerine?
What's the wording they will use?
Are they gonna have retro color naming like the iMac? Ruby red, I think it was too. Strawberry,
California
I don't know.
wildfire
Right.
orange. Sorry.
Yeah. I'd like to see our reader responses. What is your best alternative name for, or best marketing name for orange? So,
I like tangerine.
tangerine,
Yeah, that's a. I mean, and it
it's
has that
tangerine.
kind of people recognize that as the iMac. Blueberry, same thing.
blueberry.
I think it's funny how Apple, there's like a line in the sand between pros and consumers. Apparently, if you want to spend $1,000 on a phone, there's no way you're buying orange. It's black or white, and that's it. But if you want to cheap out and get a $400 phone, here's all these colors. They did it with the iBook. They did it with the iMac. I guess it's a thing. I mean, they must know their consumers better.
Right.
I'd buy a $1,000 orange iPhone. Why not? What's the difference?
Yeah.
What do you think? Arentz has something to do with that, with her coming from Burberry, or do you think that's even higher than her? Because there is all about that premium experience.
Well, there is, but and they did it with the, like I said, back of the iMacs. They had the iBook in green and orange, and then they had the PowerBook in titanium. At the time.
Or there was Bondi blue for the
Yeah.
first iMac.
John says Trump orange.
Oh god.
Now.
Oh. So it'll
This is
be
a
like
politics-free podcast.
right. It'll be like a orangish brown, but it'll have like a white splotches on it.
Yeah, it'll be a little patchy.
An autocorrect work, horribly.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's also kind of related that there was a rumor of a USB-C power adapter that I think it was capable of 18 watts.
Yeah, thank God if that's true. Because come on now, those little 5-watt plugs are just nonsense.
Yes, they are. Yes.
I haven't used one in I don't know how long, a couple of years, because I have it's nice to have the MacBook, the iPad power adapters. They all work. So if you have one plugged in somewhere, you can just plug it in.
Yeah.
But they got to get rid of those little plugs. They're just terrible.
So K50568 brings up reports that 2019 will have 5G chips.
That's what they're saying. yeah.
Right.
There's a rumor about that.
There was
can
there
believe
was
that.
another rumor this morning that they're going to use 5G modem chips and they're dropping Intel.
Yeah, and then the rumor is that Intel's like, all right, we're not making them.
Right.
Well, fine.
Which is just crazy.
Just sit there.
Like Apple
Fine.
has that much pull over the market. They're like, well, if Apple's not a customer, then why are we bothering?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I fully expect the 2019 iPhone to have a big 5G push. It's not quite there yet as far as what the carriers are offering, but by next year, the end of next year, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's a big, it'll be a big deal once you can get it through your wireless provider.
But maybe I shouldn't ask this question. Is 5G really 5G? Do you know what I mean? Kind of like in the sense that when 4G was being first pushed out, it really
yeah.
wasn't 4G.
Well, 4G LTE, when it, I mean, there was a lot of shenanigans being played with 4G at the
Right.
time. It was like faster 3G and all this other stuff. But once 4G, like the real deal 4G, it was a big
It was a
difference.
big difference.
It was
Yeah.
huge. And 5G will be the same. 5G is almost, in some area, depending on how strong your network is, it can be like Wi-Fi speeds.
Yes.
Just everywhere. So it's a big deal. It's like going from like HD to 4K. People are like, well, HD is good. Sure. Wait till you try it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So,
And And I guess before we jump into too many other things, there was a question on YouTube about waiting to get a computer for my daughter. Are there any rumor of Apple's annual student sale discounts?
Discount?
Oh, that's a good question.
Since it is
Yeah.
kind of
I think
We had-
Apple,
is-
yeah,
is-
Apple doesn't usually unveil their back to school stuff until like about a month before
Yeah.
back to
It'll be
school.
like early August.
Yeah,
And
Which
the
is so
last
much
couple-
they do is inconsiderate.
yeah. So maybe keep an eye out. I mean, in the next couple of weeks, maybe for a possible Apple promotion for back to school, because
Right.
if I remember correctly, traditionally they always do it. It feels like they do it kind of late.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I meant
Yeah,
by
it-
inconsiderate.
It's when you can kind of gauge when the iPhone's coming out because it'll end like September 13th or September 14th or
Right.
12th or something. And I hope your son or daughter likes Beats headphones because that's probably what they're going to be.
Are their back to school sales usually pretty good?
It's usually like $50
You
to
get
$100 off.
Yeah. Well, the last few years they've just done. You get a free pair of Beats, or you can get $200 off of Beats, the studio ones or whatever. they are.
Right.
It used to be better. I know from when I was a
Yeah.
graduate student. We're talking like 2006 here.
But they also have education pricing, which is pretty good on its own that you can use.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're a student, you can get that all the time. So
it's like the student pricing. You know, I cover the deals here partly, and it's all like the new iPad 9.7 inch. You're already seeing prices going below what they offer students.
oh yeah, sure. If you don't want to buy from the Apple Store, definitely. There's check out our website every day. There'll be something for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for the next couple of weeks. The back to school offers may not be as
Oh, sorry.
enticing as they used to be. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would say at least in the next couple of weeks there should be something from Apple.
Do you think there'll be anything on Amazon Prime
Oh
related to Apple?
no.
No.
Amazon Prime in
Yeah.
the past has not done like Apple particular stuff.
And it's not even just that they haven't done anything. You know, Amazon's had that whole spat with Apple where they wouldn't, for the longest time, they wouldn't have the Apple TV on there. They wouldn't have this. It's sometimes news when the AirPods go back in stock on Amazon. So
Yeah, right,
it's-
for like full price. The best stores are Best Buy runs great sales, Newegg runs sales, and B&H Photo runs good sales. Those are generally the three best for getting discounts on MacBooks.
Give you an idea, we were actually looking for the Prime Day stuff for Amazon, and I was looking through 2017, 2016. I didn't see anything on there.
Nothing. Yeah, Amazon very rarely discounts unless it's like a third-party seller. Whatever they sell through Apple is the price, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is unusual.
So, so moving right along. I was trying to think of a
Yeah.
segue, but I couldn't think of one.
I don't know how to get to the nearest Best Buy.
Moving right along is kind of a
I should have
segue.
waited for Leif to come in.
Yeah.
Leif was throwing me a softball, and I didn't see it. He was in his wind-up, but yeah. So if you can't get to if you're looking for your nearest Best Buy, you should try looking in Apple Maps. So, and there was a report by Matthew Panzarino at TechCrunch. Was it on Friday?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Well, it was last Friday. Yeah, last Friday. Yes.
Yeah. It was kind of a major story that Apple has, for the past couple of years, been working on a major revamp of Apple Maps. That they're kind of starting from the ground up, and they're going to unveil, hopefully soon, Apple Maps that is more competitive with Waze and Google Maps and other third-party mapping.
I don't know if it's going to be soon. It sounds like this is like a massive undertaking that's going to
Yeah,
take years.
it's
Yeah.
but I believe Panzarino's story said that they were hoping to unveil something
Parts of it.
in Northern California.
Yeah, start here in San Francisco, then it'll
Yeah.
be Northern California, and then hopefully the rest of you guys.
Yeah, by the release of iOS 12. So, it's an interesting story because, we've been lamenting Apple Maps. I mean, Apple Maps has been kind of a, we've beaten up on Apple
A
Maps.
punchline. If
Yeah,
you,
it's been a you know, I don't want to say it's a joke because I use Apple Maps.
It's not the MapQuest joke. That's for sure.
Right.
You use it in San Francisco.
Exactly. That's what was my point.
Yeah, when I was in my little middle of nowhere in town in Texas, there was a street where the bridge washed out in a creek 50 years ago. According to Apple Maps, that bridge still exists, and it tells you to go down that road even though it's been fenced off and everything. So.
Yeah, and so in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, it's fine for the most part. But once you go out of that area, it's I've had issues with it. And everyone's had the issues with it have been well recorded. So, but yeah, they're putting a lot of effort into it. I wonder if is Apple Maps like really a selling point for the iPhone? Do people go?
Well, the thing,
know
they
what I
say
mean?
so many people use it, and I think a lot of people who buy iOS devices and stuff do actually, kind of use the onboard stuff, and that's where a lot of that popularity comes from. Like the Apple Music, I think, was an example of that, and it's kind of cynical, but yeah, I think a lot of people, just use what's out of the box, and but that would be great, because you would think that Apple's its stuff. But I will say here, that a lot of it is that Apple is going to be relying on its own information, that its own data and stuff. And I actually saw one of when I was talking about the middle of nowhere place in Texas, I actually saw one of the Apple Maps ones way out there, population of only 7,000 people in the whole county. Yeah, it shows that they're really getting into the nooks and crannies here. But it seems to me like it's part of a larger push that Apple has been doing lately, that if you want to do it right, you got to do it yourself. And you're seeing that with the chips. We're seeing that with, and so Apple is really trying to cease relying on other people, and I think that this Apple Maps push is part of a larger push where it's just like, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Yeah, I mean, it has Apple's name on it. It says Apple Maps. So if it messes up, I don't care if they're getting their information from TomTom or wherever. It's on you to get that right. And I think, at some point, years ago, according to the story, it was several years ago, they said, all right, we're just going to do this. And they had this fleet of cars. Even more interesting, I think, is they're using us to kind of help fill in the blanks and kind of help keep these things up to date. But, Google does the same thing. But Apple is, again, with the privacy thing. So they are, using, they take the data, but then they anonymize it along the way. In some kind of a weird way, they're using this deferential privacy to still collect all this data and help these maps along. Yet they don't know where I went on any given moment, whereas Google knows everywhere that I go. Right. So that's just one more way that Apple is saying, listen, our phones are better, our phones are blah blah blah. They might look better, but if this matters to you, if privacy matters, if you're tired of Google, collecting all this data, if you're tired of hearing these things every now and again that says, oh, by the way, your Android apps are spying on you, here's how. We don't do any of that. And we don't even do it for maps. So this is just one more way that they're separating Android from iOS.
That sounds good and everything, but I really want to see how it works in product.
I agree. It's Siri has suffered as a result. There's no denying that. So you're right. We have to see if on paper it sounds like a great idea. It might not work in practice. We'll have to see.
Sounds like go ahead.
I was just going to say, Google Maps, if it's not 100%, it's 99.9% of the time.
Yes.
Gets me where I need to go to the millimeter. Apple Maps, maybe 80%.
Yeah, it sounds like on YouTube it's varying degrees of success with Apple Maps, even varying by country. Do you think
I imagine. Yeah.
Apple would ever buy TomTom?
No.
I think with its push now with the vehicles and everything, I think it really is going to just rely on its own stuff. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, they licensed all of that. According to the story, it was like a piecemeal operation where they took parts of this and parts of that and just jumbled it all together. And that's why it's such a mess, or why it was such a mess when it launched. And they've been fixing it over the years, but this is the first, according to Eddie Q, the first effort to really say, all right, enough. We're just doing this from the ground up. We're rebuilding it. However long it takes, it's going to take. But you will get a Apple branded, completely redone Maps experience. And it sounded from the story that after they get all this data, they're going to redesign the app as well. But he was less committal about that.
And they said basically, that initially people wouldn't even notice the difference unless they've been following the news. So
I tell you, when you'll notice it is if it actually gets to where you need to go.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And the big thing that they also said they're working on is Siri. Like you can ask Siri to a place that is in Apple Maps and it has no idea where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll say, I found this in Portugal. Like, no. Is that where I want to go? So that's another thing that presumably all of this data that they're collecting, it will affect all aspects of the Maps operation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The point I was trying to make was that for Apple Maps is a feature of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
For Google Maps is a source of revenue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they collect the data, they use that data
Sell
and
it.
stuff. So it's not that surprising that it doesn't seem like it has been a priority for Apple to fix Apple Maps or to make it better because they make money off of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so why I was saying, do people buy Apple? Do people not buy an iPhone because of Apple Maps?
No.
No, because you can
Yeah, I
always
don't-
switch to
Yeah.
Google
Right.
and stuff. And so
Yeah.
Apple kind of goes, well, people aren't, it's not hurting our iPhone sales.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll get to it when we get to it. But it seems like, as Panzerino pointed out, they've been working on it for a few years, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
So Apple
It-
never announces that they're working on something. So until now.
It seems to kind of line up with the rumors we've heard about this Project Titan car stuff also. I think it's
Yes.
all related.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was also speculation of, so we've been seeing these cars map everything. Are these cars that are mapping everything also self-driving cars?
Mm-hmm.
No one really knows.
If they're,
Well,
they're
I-
getting the data for it, I think.
The story that Panzerino wrote, there were people driving.
There were people
I don't
driving.
know. I mean, there might be some automated cars around, but there haven't been any rumors about that. And like I said, he talked to people who were driving. There's two people in the car. One's driving. One's dealing with the data.
Yeah.
And they got
So
a
he
Mac
didn't-
Pro in the back.
And Mac Pro in the car. Yes.
Right, they have a Mac Pro set up.
I guess
I wonder if it's I wonder if it's like the trash can one, or is it one of the new ones that we haven't seen yet?
Right. That's a good point.
But I guess while they're driving around, do they have, LiDAR and all the other kind of
Yes,
sensors
yeah,
that
they have
would
all that.
be
Yeah.
would be needed?
Yeah, all
for
that
it?
stuff's built in. They have, GPS Plus, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I was going to say I think, but I'm hoping that they're they're forward looking on this, and so in this data
Yeah.
push, they're going to get everything.
I mean, they have to be. Like, why would they undertake this massive operation if they're going to base it on 4 years ago? What we should have done. I'm sure they're ahead of themselves. Another cool bit related to privacy is that. So they take all these pictures and they map their area.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes to a algorithm that strips everything. Like there's no cars, there's no identifiers, there's nothing. Gets rid of all of that before it gets to a person. So like Google Street View and stuff, like they're just pictures, and
Right.
like Apple just gets rid of all of that stuff. So there's no privacy implications whatsoever. There's nothing there other than satellite images that they use for their satellite view. They don't send, if somebody's outside sunbathing, like Apple's engineers won't see all that.
Something just occurred to me. The actual data collection with the people driving around in the cars, is that all Apple itself? Because I know the way Google works is they basically hire freelancers and the ads show up on Craigslist and stuff. It's like, hey, do you like driving?
Yeah.
And so I think that's all Apple.
Maybe, yeah. The story didn't mention that, but it certainly sounded like they were employees and not just drivers.
Right.
It would go along with that privacy push, I believe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we should start seeing the beginnings of the new Apple Maps in the release of iOS 12, which is currently in beta. And some of
Yep.
us here have been using the beta.
There you go. And that's the transition I'm talking about. Roman. Slam dunk.
So we thought we'd spend the rest of this podcast just talking about our experiences with the betas, the iOS 12 beta, the Mojave beta. If you're interested, if people are watching and interested in running the betas, there is a public beta program that you can join you have to remember, we discussed this before, but this is beta software. So you will have problems with it.
And that's what we're going to talk about.
So, but you can join if you're interested and check out the new features and see how well it runs with your software and things like that.
It's super simple too.
So, and it's really easy, and you can back out of it if you want to.
Well, that's a little more trickier.
It's a little trickier, yes. But joining and signing up and installing the beta OS, and then when the final release comes out, you can upgrade to that, or you can stay in the beta program and keep running betas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
well, the final beta that you get will be the same version that everybody gets.
Right, and the general release or the public betas are usually like a step or two behind the developer beta.
Yeah.
So the developers get a beta cycle, and then when they're done with that cycle, they release that beta to the general public for wider testing, while the developers get a new beta. So that's usually
betas
how it
for
works.
everybody.
Betas for everyone. You get a beta, and you get a beta. So, but yeah, if you guys been running the betas, I haven't been running iOS 12. I've been using the Mojave beta, and I've been finding that the Mojave beta is pretty stable. But I have to admit, I haven't been doing anything super hardcore on it. I haven't been stress testing it or anything like that, or trying to do anything tricky. I've just been kind of like using it as I regularly do, and I haven't found any issues with it. If you guys have any problems?
I have. So, okay. So, I've toyed with Mojave on a regular MacBook, 12-inch MacBook, 13-inch MacBook Pro, and 15-inch MacBook Pro. I have the most problems by far on the 15-inch MacBook Pro. I was trying to do an interview the other day, and, my beloved, where you can pick up the phone through the MacBook did not work. So, that really threw me for a loop. QuickTime, because I was going to use that to record the interview, did not work. And so this all worked on the 13-inch, but it did not work on the 15-inch, which is really weird.
That's interesting.
So
yeah, it is weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And that was the most annoying thing I've seen right now, because I was not prepared for it, because like Roman said, everything works pretty well, but that did not.
Is the 15-inch older than the 13?
No, it is brand new. The 15 inches is 2017. And the 13 is 2016. But only other thing is, I've noticed, I don't know if this is really a bug, but when you have it on dark mode, it only stays on the image of the dark dune, for the dynamic desktops. So it just stays there. So in order to get the actual time to go, I had to switch it to daytime. So now the photo of the dune and the wallpaper for the dynamic wallpaper actually changes with the time. But I guess if it's in dark mode, and I've seen people on Reddit saying the same thing. They don't know if that's a feature or a bug. So, but that just kind of disappointed me. I would say that's the most issues that I've had with Mac Mojave.
John on YouTube says the dynamic wallpaper looks pretty sweet on his Mac Pro. And then I can't remember who said it, but someone was commented earlier that there's a lot of battery issues with the betas right now.
I always have problems with my 15-inch MacBook Pro with batteries, so I barely notice. But yeah, that thing drains batteries in like an hour. Yeah.
I have an iPhone 6s that I put the beta on iOS 12.
Talking about Mac.
And before the beta, I have one of the ones that needs a battery, and it was like abysmal. Like I'm talking about like 45 minutes, it would be out. And the performance in the battery has greatly improved on my one single device. So I don't know if it's indicative of the entire iOS 12, but it's actually like I can use it for like half a day without having to charge it in. It's vastly improved as far as that goes.
My mind was on Mojave, but yes, I was out and about yesterday for the 4th, and I didn't need to charge my phone, and I always usually have to carry a charger with me, which I did too. But I have to admit, this is a 7 Plus. And I didn't have to charge it, so I'm kind of with Mike on this one. So
yeah, I think that's their claims of really kind of focusing on performance and battery life is a real deal.
Does it feel faster to you guys, iOS 12?
I haven't used anything that I would really see the distance.
really, yeah.
Yeah, my phone is like super stripped down. I just have a couple apps on it that I constantly delete because this is just like my test phone. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say it's not noticeably slow. How about that?
Right.
In terms of performance, it doesn't feel beta-ish because sometimes beta software isn't optimized.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's pretty solid. I mean, they couldn't release it, but it's
Yeah.
pretty solid as far as it's a what public. This is the first one, I think. So
Yes.
not bad. Last week I had an issue where for some reason the App Store wouldn't load, and I had to quit the store, restart the phone, and then it was fine. But
By the
that's
way,
the
I had
only
to do that too.
major issue. Yeah, weird, right? We both had the same problem on the same day. That's the only time I've seen like a real annoying bug that made me want to pull my hair out. Other than that, it's been pretty cool. The Measure app is really good. It's just one of those simple, elegant, really kind of like wow Apple apps. Because I've used Google's Measure, same name, and it's just not nearly it works the same. But the experience is tricky. Like you can't tell where to add points and how to continue points, and it's just not something that I use often. I had a size of ring the other day,
Right.
and so the thing on my screen it said just check to see if this is an inch. So I'm literally looking around for my ruler. I said, oh wait, I have this app, and I did it, and it was great.
Awesome.
So AR, it's really it's a great use of AR, and I hope that this is a sign of things to come within iOS.
As far as other bugs go, the only thing I've noticed that's a very small thing, but I do find it annoying, is that even though I have no alarms going, the alarm icon at the top of the screen never goes away. And so I keep getting afraid that there's one, and I have a lot of alarms because I usually just say, hey, person, wake me up in 20 minutes or something like that. And so yeah, I have a lot of those. So I'm always afraid like there's one I'm missing, but no, it's just that they're not showing up. Yeah. So.
That's funny.
Are there anything with Watch OS? Is there does the beta affect that at all? Because
There is. I'm sorry.
well,
What?
MLam just asked, does Watch OS 5 have messages in cloud?
thought it
Watch
did.
OS isn't a public beta, so
Yeah.
I'm not a member of Apple's developer community, so I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I'm using the public beta too. I know Jason's on the developer
Yeah,
beta.
but I'm not sure he has a watch to put it on.
Right. I have an original Apple Watch, so most of the new features I can't even
No
use.
OS 5 for you, Roman.
No.
Now, I have a Series 3 with LTE, which is the most modern thing. But I would have noticed some syncing issues with my iPhone and the Apple Watch. But, because this is running what is the standard OS and this is a beta, that didn't surprise me that much. But I will say that I'm not getting some notifications. Yeah.
And I don't even use Apple Messages. I'm on Android.
Yeah, so actually checking Leif's watch, it's about time we need to wrap up the Macworld podcast. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up a little early today
The rare closing transition.
because we have a staff meeting today, our regular staff meeting. So,
Because we normally have this on Wednesdays.
yeah, we normally have the podcast on Wednesdays. We have a staff meeting every day on Thursdays, and since it was a holiday here in the U.S.
All the details that our audience loves
we-
to know.
So yeah, it's
That's
college
exciting.
like baseball that nobody cares about except us. So
And we care very little.
yes, we actually don't care that much either. So, but anyways, yeah. So we need to wrap up this week's episode of the Macworld podcast. So we'll be back next week. Another scheduling planning that we have to figure out for next week. So check the website for when the podcast will broadcast for next week. We'll figure it out. So hopefully early next week.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So, but anyways, I'd like to thank Mike Simon over on the East Coast. Thanks, Mike.
It's good to be back. It's been so long. All my hair fell off.
Are you staying cool on the East Coast?
Oh man, it's horrible. It was like 90. It was. I looked at my phone on Monday, and the real feel was 109.
Wow.
It was like, what? That's not even a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, well, stay cool. So,
He's always cool.
he's always cool, right?
Cool as ice.
Literally and figuratively. So, I'd like to thank Leif Johnson. Thanks, Leif.
Thank you.
Thank to our producer Dan Masuoka. Thank
You're
you, Dan.
welcome.
I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Again, keep an eye on our website for the next Macworld podcast.
Follow on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll put it on Twitter and on the homepage when we're gonna broadcast the next podcast. So, but thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Join us next week.
See ya.